This was the cheapest BMW M5 competition on the whole internet. And I bought it from a mechanic who decided it wasn't worth repairing. And I guess today, after repairing the rest of it, we're gonna find out whether it was worth it or not. This M5 is turning out to be a bargain, even if my girlfriend doesn't quite agree.
I don't know what the hype is like.
The last mechanic sold it to me after he noticed the structural damage on the strut tower. And even though I'd never attempted anything like this before, I decided to give it a go. Which meant I had to remove the engine, drill out all the rivets that hold the strut tower in place, then panel bond and re-rivet a brand new strut tower, making sure it was in the exact same position it came off. And even after all of this work, it still remains pretty cheap. £1,100. But that was until what I found in the last video. And each of them are £530 each. And we're still far from finished. Now you may notice since the last video, screensaver have been and fitted a brand new windscreen, which costs £400. Bringing the total bill to £35,346. I just hope I don't regret putting that new windscreen in by the time I get to changing the dashboard later in the video. But good news is, we've had some parts arrive. Oh! These are uprated charge coolers, which are going to replace the broken charge coolers that we put on just to get this car running. Massive thanks to Imran at Evolve for sorting these. These are CSF charge coolers, and I assume they're gonna cool the charge a lot better. And I'm right. Unlike your normal intercooler which sits on the front of the car, these charge coolers are water cooled. A separate water pump pumps water through radiators on the front of the car that you can see here. The water is then cooled by the air and it's then sent straight through the charge coolers. And at the same time, the turbo is pushing hot air through the charge cooler, which is being cooled by the water going through it. Then it leaves the charge cooler and goes straight into the engine. All that's left for me to do is fit the new ones. At the bottom of the charge cooler, you can see the throttle body here. And then right at the top, you can see the turbos. Because of how compact this engine bay is, it makes it really difficult to do anything on the car with the engine inside. So getting these charge coolers off wasn't easy. But once they are off, I can transfer everything off the old ones onto the new ones, like the two boost pressure sensors, which do exactly what they say on the tin. They tell the ECU how much air the engine's getting and then can adjust the air-fuel ratio based on those figures. So they're pretty vital sensors. And then just to finish up, there's a few little hoses left and that is looking loads better. We can nearly add coolant to the system. Now I was just getting excited to finally put some coolant in here and then Chris noticed something. Take a look down here. That bottom hose there has a pretty big hole in it. I'm going to order one of them now from BMW so we can finally get the coolant in it. Now it's time to tackle the electronics of the car, and this is where it gets expensive. And I'm just going to throw everything in the deep end now. This was 1,600 quid for the pair of headlights, and I just hope that this is gonna work. Headlights are my nemesis, especially on newer cars. They have so many different variations that even one difference can cause them not to work. On this M5, I think I've got the right part numbers, and there's only 1 digit difference between the left-hand side headlight and the right-hand side headlight. First one.
Let's get it on.
Down the back. Okay, that's plugged in. Okay.
I think that's the better one out of the two.
Here we go. Okay. Let's just see if they work. I'm excited. Oh, it's on!
Oh, Jesus. One. Oh.
Oh, no.
It's not a good start.
Oh, no.
So we have one.
One's on, but not the other.
Oh, dear. How you feeling?
Oh, no.
But it might just need turning on for the first time.
Those ones look cool, actually.
Try turn it on. You never know. It might just be like a...
You reckon?
Maybe. I've got faith. Ready? Okay. Good news is...
Is that one come on?
No.
No!
But hold on. That one's gone off. You're not going to believe it.
What's happening there?
What do you want to happen?
I want both of them to come on. Oh, no. What? How did that one not come
I
on?
don't know. That's weird how that one worked at first, then that one works.
Why doesn't it work? Why is it always headlights? Please let me know in the comment section if you have any idea why that one doesn't work. This one does work. Let me know. Well, the good news is that the coolant hose to replace the broken one has turned up. Here you can see the broken lower radiator hose. I can't believe I never picked it up before. And in goes the new one. And sitting on the side is my Y Food, the perfect meal replacement drink. The good thing about Y Food, it literally has everything your body needs in one bottle. And on top of that, all of these bottles are 100% recyclable. Obviously, I'm not putting Y Food in the M5, come on. Inside one of these shakes, there is 26 vitamins and minerals. It's high in fiber, high in protein, it's lactose-free, it's gluten-free, and there's no added sugar. It's also impossible to get bored of the taste because there are so many different flavors. Salted caramel, happy banana, coffee, classic choco. I've not even tried that one yet. So if you like me and constantly on the go and are a little bit guilty of grabbing something which isn't quite healthy for you at lunchtime, then why not try Y Food? There's a link in the description box below for a taster pack to find your favorite flavor, and with help from this banner appearing underneath me right now, you're gonna save yourself a bit of money on it as well. Cheers, Y Food. Now you may have noticed there are two coolant reservoirs on the M5. And that's because there's two cooling systems. One cooling system cools the charge coolers, which we spoke about, which is the smaller coolant reservoir, which I think I'll get away with just pouring the coolant into. Look at that concentration. And then the other coolant system is for the engine. But I can't just begin to pour coolant into this coolant reservoir. The engine cooling system has to be vacuum filled, which means I need this special tool. The compressor is going to blow air down this airline and out here, which creates a vacuum sucking air out of the cooling system when I open this tap, and we should see a pressure increase, which hopefully will hold, showing that there is no leaks in the system. And this is the actual way BMW say that you have to do it, else you get a lot of air bubbles in the system. So let's do it. Now the tool is creating a vacuum in the cooling system, and you can see the pressure here. Now when I turn the tap off, we should see it hold pressure, but unfortunately in this case it looks like it's dropping pressure, which means we've got a leak somewhere. We've just got to find it. I literally cannot win with this car. There's another hole. It is in this hose here. Look at it, that tiny little hole there. Well, it's a good job we vacuum tested it, else we would have lost a lot of coolant. Instead of ordering another new coolant hose, I can see that the little hole is at the top of the hose. So what I'm going to try and do instead is cut off the metal clip which holds it to the plastic fitting at the top of the hose. And once I got that off, I'm going to trim the hose down to just above where that pinhole is. I probably should be using a Dremel, but it was in my hand. Then I can slide the hose back on the plastic fitting, and hopefully now the pinhole won't be leaking any coolant. Then it's time to refit it. Right, round two. And after vacuum testing it again, it looks like we could be in the all clear. It's holding the vacuum. And because the cooling system is now pulling a vacuum, I can put this hose into the coolant bottle, open the tap up, and it's going to suck all the coolant out of the bottle and into the cooling system. That way we won't get any airlocks. And we're not even finished yet. BMW like to complicate things even more than that. Turn the ignition on. Select the hottest temperature on the AC. Now this is not a joke. This is the actual way BMW tell you how to properly bleed the cooling system. The heater has got to be on the highest setting with the fans on the lowest setting. After that, I've then got to hold the accelerator down for 10 seconds with the ignition on, which should activate some kind of self-bleed system with all the water pumps on the car. And you can hear it working away now. Then you're supposed to let it sit there for 12 to 13 minutes. So whilst I wait for that to finish, I use those 12 or 13 minutes to start putting more of the car together at the front end. Now when I first bought the car, It didn't even have a front end on it. It was completely obliterated. So assembling all of this was a little difficult, as it's something that I never took off in the first place. Before we get onto the electrical stuff and the bodywork, there is one final thing that we're missing on the engine, and that is air filters. And of course, we've not gone for stock filters. I'm excited about this one. I have already opened it because I couldn't wait. Again, shout out to Evolve Automotive. Imran there. Check these bad boys out. Venturi intakes. The way these work is basically a cone air filter, but the other way round, which actually makes like way more sense because the centrifugal. There's like a centrifugal flow rather than small to big. It's big to small, which creates a centrifugal flow. Force. They're going to go each side here, and I want to hear what they sound like as well. I don't know whether it's going to affect the sound, maybe it's going to sound more Darth Vader-y, but let's fit these on, and then the engine is done and dusted, hopefully, fingers crossed. Then we've got the rest of the car to deal with. Let's get these on. First thing to go on with this induction kit is a heat shield. It's pretty obvious what they do, and they go both sides of the engine because there's 2 air filters on this car. Then there's some protective tape to run around the inside of this part, because then the carbon air filter housing slides right through them, and that tape prevents it from being scratched up. And then it's pretty self-explanatory from there. They fit in the exact same way the stock filters would have fit in. And whilst I was doing that, Kevin decided to start recycling. And there was 2 final pieces to go on, the air shrouds at the front, which should help guide that cool air into the new induction system. Look at them. That is full carnage now. I've got to give the engine bay a bit of a clean over, and also some little brackets which sort of sit here and then rest on there for the heat shield. But I cannot wait to start this thing and just sort of listen to see if these make any difference to the sound. We know the performance is probably going to increase, but I don't know about the sound. Then we have these air intakes which direct the cold airflow in there, and hopefully to these big filters, but it's not really going to be directing anything, stood still. But Hannah is about to start it now, and I know how much you love this BMW.
Great.
But now that we've got the coolant in, we can actually run this car to temperature and give it a few revs as well. Let's see if it's going to sound any different. I don't know. Well, I can't hear anything over the exhaust. I can't hear any difference over here, but the exhaust is so loud. How are we looking? Got engine management light on.
Yeah, nice light.
Tyre pressure. Restraint system.
Why are you doing all this when the airbags still need doing?
What?
Why are you doing all this when the airbags need doing?
Hannah was right. I'd gotten a little carried away with the upgrades when there's still so much more to repair on this M5. But just look how good it looks. I just finished all that and then realised I've missed these things off. Turbo inlet pipes. They look absolutely mental. I did think the stock ones looked a bit restrictive, that they're plastic and that. I better get these on. Okay, this is the last upgrade before we carry on repairing this M5. And this one doesn't count because it was part of the induction kit. But after all this, it should finish off any work that we need to do to the engine. Look at that, that is one mental looking engine bay. Full carbon intakes now, all the way to the turbos, and then with the gold charge coolers. But we've still got, well, this to deal with, and we've still got, well, all of this to deal with. Okay, I've been putting it off long enough. We need to do this dashboard. As you all may know by now, there are a lot of airbags in this M5. And when airbags deploy, especially passenger side airbags, most of the time, it means you've got to remove the full dashboard. But not only is the passenger side airbag gone in this car, the curtain airbags have gone, the steering wheel airbag has gone, and also the knee airbag has gone. Now, because we can't repair the dashboard that's already in the M5, the benefit of us buying a complete new one is that we can see where all the bolt holes are, where this thing comes off. We can see the holes there and there, but the painful ones are these two ones here, which means we're gonna have to take out the whole center console to get to those bolts. But other than that, I don't think it looks too bad. But I've said it now, ain't I? If you ever think about doing a dashboard at home, I'd advise you the best thing to do is remove both seats first. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I couldn't imagine removing a dashboard without removing the seats first. It just gives you that much more room to move around the car. And look at the mess inside this M5. Now, these seats are far from light. There's a huge electrical loom that plugs into the bottom of them, and they are fully electric, which made it that much more difficult to pull them out. Now, I'm going to have to remove this center console here to access the two bolt holes that we can see on the new dashboard, which look like they attach it to the frame of the car. And to do so, I'm going to start from the back of the center console and work my way forward. The first time I ever removed a dashboard to do an airbag was last year on the Golf R. And since then, we've done plenty. And from what I've learned, you just can't cut corners. Sometimes I try and get the dashboard out without taking the center console, and it always comes down to having to take that center console out. So I'm not going to beat around the bush this time. I found the two 10mm at the front of the center console which hold it to the chassis. Then I've just got to find the rest of the 10mm which do the same job. Another good technique that I used on the Porsche GT3 out in Florida was that every time I removed a bolt, I put it back in the hole where it came from after I pulled the trim out. That way it's really easy to organise where exactly the bolts came from. And now I can just about access two bolts which hold the center console to the dashboard. We're nearly there. Now, the craziest thing about this, what I've just found out, is to remove this center console, you've got to remove the dashboard, which makes no sense. Even though I've undone those two bolts there and all the 10mm holding the center console to the frame of the car, I can lift it, but I can't pull it out because of the way the dashboard is shaped here. So if you look, when I pull it, I cannot slide it out because the dashboard overlaps it. But the good news now is that I should be able to remove the dashboard without removing all of this, even though I had to remove all of this to get to those bolts there. You live and you learn. So now I'm moving on to getting that dashboard finally out. But before I get to that, I've got to remove the steering wheel, along with the steering wheel airbag. I've taken the clock spring up just to make sure it doesn't spin when I remove it, as we've made that mistake before. And then I'm going to remove the wiper stalks. This is so when the dashboard is finally loose, I can pull it up over the steering column. And the more stuff you remove, the more bolts you reveal. And we just got to work through it bit by bit. Some will be in obvious places, and some not so obvious places. But having that new dashboard ready to hand made life so much easier, because now we can see where everything is. I can see here on the right hand side, there's about 3 or 4 bolts which attach it to the frame. And one of them was hiding inside this compartment on the right hand side here. In fact, I think there was 2 there. Another bit of advice I'd say when doing a dashboard is make sure you're going to remove it and put the new one back in on the same day. That way your memory is fresh. And the longer you leave it, the more you forget about where things went. But if you are planning on doing it over multiple days, then take loads of photos on your phone. I think one of the hardest things about getting it back in is working out where all the wiring routed to. And if you don't get that right the first time, you could end up taking it back out again to reroute the wires, which is really frustrating. But right now, I've just about got enough wiggle room to slide the center console backwards and finally get that dash out once and for all. Yeah, I did it. Old dashboard is out. Actually, wasn't too bad. I might actually be getting a little bit better at this thing. I've certainly had a lot of practice. New dashboard on here. Now, this come with a passenger side airbag already bolted in. Full dashboard was £1,100, which I think is quite expensive for a dashboard with airbag, but it's because it's got this heads-up display malarkey as well, so you've got to make sure it's right. In fact, yeah, the stitching is exactly the same. I think it's like grey stitching. Full leather dashboard. Yeah, I think now, what time is it?
9:36.
9:36. Let's get this dash back in by
10:36.
Oh yeah, 10:36.
Yeah.
Let's go. It was a race against time. Could we get the new dashboard in within 1 hour? I think we're probably being a little ambitious, but now we know where everything goes, I can't see why not. Okay, 10:15. We've got 15 minutes left, Liam.
Smashing it.
It's just plugs now, look. It's just plugs.
Yeah, it's just plugs.
Plugs. I'm an electrician, and electricians just plug stuff in apparently. So.
Yeah, all you do is plug stuff in.
Plugs and plugs. They just plug in.
Yeah, there isn't many plugs. Okay, let's do some plug-in. It's actually the plug-in which makes this job time-consuming. You can't rush something like this. If you leave one of those connectors not plugged in, then there's something on the dashboard that's not going to work. And I don't want to be the guy that has to take it all apart to plug one tiny connector back in. But me and Leon were making good headway. We're now getting the instrument cluster back in, and I was working on the left-hand side of the car getting all the trims in. It made life so much easier that I'd left the bolts in the holes that they came out of, as that I wasn't hunting round for a bolt that I'd placed in the middle of nowhere. Finally, the dash was in, the steering wheel was on, and all we've got left to do was put all the center console back together. Which was a little frustrating because some things had to go in certain order. £329.39p. It's got to go up here. And that was for the knee airbag, and that was directly from BMW. I couldn't find one anywhere else. Liam, what's the time? 10:30.
Yeah, 10:30. 10:25.
Yeah, 10:30.
We've got how many? 10 minutes to spare?
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 minutes to
We
spare.
did it. We absolutely nailed it. Check it out. Although we didn't do it. We were an hour over. It took 2 hours to put back in.
But we've done the centre console as well.
And we did the centre console, yeah. Do you know, I'd actually be interested to see what the actual book time for that was, because I think 2 hours, it was a couple of hours getting it out. So I reckon 4 hours all round job of doing this. And I don't have a steering wheel airbag yet. We still got to do the curtain airbags. But everything is all in. And back me up, Liam. How many bolts left?
There's actually no bolts left.
We're getting so much better at this. There's literally no bolts left.
Smashed it.
Whether we've actually left anything unplugged or not,
That's another story.
that is another story. But we won't find that out until the next video, because right now all the Porsche parts have came and I am going to America to carry on the 992 GT3. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.
How many Newton meters is this?
About 60. And then 90 degree.
Like a drug that I I just can't deny giving me the best time.